Today I want to talk about, I've been really busy, and I'm going on a trip tomorrow for a couple days that I'm very excited about, and so I've been getting ready for that, and I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about today, and I actually want to talk about something that I did last night, and I guess if I had to title it, it would be Do Something Scary. And we've talked about doing things and just for fun, or failing forward, meaning that you've moving forward, but maybe it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. But I want to talk about doing something scary, because last night I had signed up 2 weeks ago. This is on my list of things to do. I actually started thinking about this back in May, and I chickened out every single time something came up that would have allowed me to take or do this. I chickened out. Not gonna lie. I was very intimidated by it because it was new and I'd never experienced that. And that is aerial yoga. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I am a yoga instructor, and I do mat yoga, chair yoga, assisted yoga, but I've never done aerial yoga. And I had signed up a couple of weeks ago, and I was scared to death because that is working a totally different system, and not system, but like different muscles than I'm used to using. And so, and I've been on the mat for so long, or in a chair or whatever, that this was very intimidating. If you've been here for a minute, you sort of know my story, that when I went to yoga teacher training back in 2017, I was not only the oldest yoga student to get certified in that class, I was also the biggest. And so you never know going to these things, and here are these silks. These silks are going to be holding me, right? And I'm just like, oh God. And she's, what if my foot don't go in, and what if I fall down, and what if I flip over, and all the things that I'm sure it's going through anybody's mind that's going to one of these classes for the very first time. But as someone who has always been very self-conscious about her body and her weight and being the biggest person in the room, it was like an extra level of stress. But with all that, I should say and Teresa says, I love it. I would talk myself out of it. I did all summer. I talked myself out of it the entire summer. But it's a 4-week intro class on Tuesday nights, and it fit into my schedule. I didn't have anything scheduled for the last week and the next 3 weeks on Tuesday nights, and so I knew that it was time. I knew that if I was going to encourage my clients to do things that were scary, that I'm going to have to do things that are scary too. So that's what I did. I went, and I didn't plan dinner well. I'm not going to lie. We went and had Mexican food, and didn't plan that. And I love Mexican food. It is my go-to comfort food, and I always overindulge. Only do it once a week. That's fine. But probably didn't choose very well. That's cool. But it was a couple hours in between dinner and class. It was fine. But I got there, and first of all, the studio is beautiful. That's where I go get my massages. And so I knew it was going to be great, and I knew that the instructor was going to be great. And I walked in, and there were different ages, there were different body types, there were different races. It was a very diverse class. And I was like, okay, see, this is already starting off better than I thought it was going to. I thought, I was going to be the oldest and the biggest in the room. So, sorry guys, my neighbor's dog is outside. I feel like this is an every Wednesday thing these days. And so I started the class, and she literally walked us through every single step, how to hold it, how to, which ones to choose, and the whole thing. And I'm not going to go into the whole 45-minute practice. But number one, she placed a card on each of our mats before we arrived, so she had no idea what mat it was going to be that we chose. My card was perfection. I mean, I took a picture of it and a picture of what it said in the book because it was so perfect. And then we started the practice with essential oils, which you know I love. And then we went through the practice. And did I physically do everything? No, because I'm working different muscles and I'm doing different stretches. But I did get into the poses. I didn't do one of the inversions because I looked at it and I was like, there's no way that this girl is getting back up there. But I got into the position before we flipped over. We had one pose where I got in the silks and you're actually standing, like you pull up and you step into the silks, and I started to swing and I hit my neighbor. In the back, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she giggled and I giggled, and it's so fun because it's a serious class because you want to make sure that you're paying attention, but it's also a fun class, right? Hello, Maureen. And so it was very nice just to not have a serious class, take my mind off of everything that was going on, try something new, which was extremely scary. But I did. I got in those silks and we did a 45-minute practice, and I stretched things that haven't been stretched in a long time, probably since yoga teacher training, and faced a lot of fears. When you're relying on those silks and and you literally can just pick it up and you can practically see through it. And like, how in the world is that going to hold me? But it did. And it was just, I overcame a lot of stuff in that, and it was very cathartic, and it was very, there was a lot of symbolism and with what I'm going through in my life, with trusting the process, trusting that the silks got you, just like the universe, God, spirit, whatever you call it, has you, right? And so it was very emotional for me, for sure. I left there and I had messaged Teresa, who was on here, and I was like, my body is going to be so mad at me in the morning. Grateful and thankful, but very mad. And I actually wasn't as sore as I thought I was. I'm actually more sore in my hands from gripping the silks. And she told us that was going to happen, that the more core you build and the more muscle you build, the less you rely on the hands, that hands were just there. But I was like, I promise you, I was gripping on for dear life for some of those. So yeah, and the very last pose is you literally get in the silks and she walks you through it's so beautiful, and it's a cocoon, and it just engulfs you, and you lay there, and she puts some more essential oils in your hand and you smell them, and there's beautiful music, and you just were there for about 5 minutes in Shavasana. If you've ever done yoga, this is the last pose, or corpse pose. I call it corpse pose. And I was literally just sitting there and I was just barely swinging back and forth, and it was just beautiful. It was just wonderful. So I'll tell you all this to say, do something scary. Do something out of your comfort zone, because even though I put it off for as long as I put it off, it was the timing. It was perfect. It happened the way it was supposed to happen. But if you're, want to start a new hobby, or if you want to try a new yoga class, or if you want to try a new dance class, or if you want to try sewing or knitting, or I don't know, something that you would never think that you would do. I've just started making sourdough bread. I love to bake, but I'm not a big precise baker, but sourdough is pretty precise. It's not like, but I'm like weighing stuff, and that's not me. But I've baked sourdough for the last 3 weeks, and I'm slowly getting better at it. And my husband actually is liking my cinnamon sugar sourdough bread. So it's fall. We're fixing to sort of go inwards anyway, because that's what fall does. And I want you to start thinking about, because spring will be here before we know it, right? Think about what you want to do, whether it's in the fall and or right now or in the winter or even in the spring. What do you want to do that's new? What will get you out of your comfort zone? What can you do that will, you can look fear in the face and do it anyway, and it's okay if you didn't do it 100%. Or, I mean, I didn't, there was one, it was called a tree pose, and we were standing in the silks, and I was supposed to get this arm out of the silk to balance myself while I was doing tree pose. I was gripped. There was no way I was gonna, but that's a new goal of mine, right? By the end of the class, in the end of 4 weeks, I want to be able to have enough strength, to have enough confidence in myself and the silks, to move through those silks and sort of get out there and do that. So what can you do? What is, sit down sometime this week or this weekend, whatever, and take a few breaths, and what can you do that is out of your comfort zone, that you've been wanting to do, and know that it's okay if you weren't great at it. Nobody's great the first time they do anything, I don't think. And so what can you do for fun? Because a lot of times we forget the fun part. What can you do for fun, or something that you've been interested in that you can step out of your comfort zone and do? I mean, I didn't know how it was going to go. I know I love yoga, and I know that I know the studio and all that stuff, so I wasn't worried about that, but just, it was scary. And when I texted Teresa last night, I said it was terrifying, it was gratifying, it was motivating, because I have realized how much strength I have lost in some places, because I really don't push myself so much on the mat anymore. And it's also very fun. It was fun, and I needed it. So if there's something that you want to do or been meaning to do that's a little bit scary, do it. Teresa says, you go. It's awesome that you did it. You had to have grit to do it. Oh, thank you. Maureen says you have grit, girl. Thank you. I'm going to check to see if there's some place here I can do it. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Gail! Hello, Gail. How are you? Long time no see. Good to see you. So, yeah. Figure out what you want to do. Come back here. Put it in the chat. And, if you decide you want to do something, put it in the chat, and I'll come back and check on you later to see if you did it. Say, hey, I want to do this by this date. And I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to put it on my calendar to come back and check with you. So if that's something you want to do, go ahead and do it. A little bit of accountability there. All right, you all. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Please don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to put it down below. And don't forget, our monthly membership meets on Thursday nights. We are off tomorrow night because I'm going to be out of town, but we start back up next week on Thursday nights, 7 p.m. And don't forget, I also do one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you like to do that, come check it out. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great week.